Hello, and welcome to the BSG presentation for Caliber Shoes. Please take a moment and enjoy our team's company advertisement. We hope that you have enjoyed our company's commercial. My name is Brett Vaughn, co-manager of Caliber Shoes. Today I'm going to be covering our company's overview, our SWOT analysis, and our value chain analysis. When we were faced with the obstacle of deciding on a company name, we wanted a name that would coincide with our best value strategy. So we agreed upon the name Caliber, which references a degree of excellence or importance. Our company logo is comprised of a C for caliber and circling an S for shoes. This is representative of the Caliber brand being an all-encompassing brand for the shoe industry. Looking at our slogan, Aim for Value, this shows our basic business strategy, and it has a nice play on words with the Caliber brand also referencing a bullet or projectile. Our company's vision statement is to always provide a higher level of style, quality, features, and more models than our competitors at an unexpectedly low price. Looking at Team Caliber's mission statement, it is to provide the customer with the best value in the footwear industry. Now, best value does not always mean best price. This kind of goes back to our vision statement when looking at the level of the style, quality, and features, not necessarily the best price. Moving on to our code of ethics, we believe that we should go beyond the golden rule, treating others, our community, and the environment better than ourselves. We want to make a legacy for our company that is actually worth having. Now let's look at the value chain analysis. Starting with our primary activities, let's look at operations. We minimized our use of superior materials. This helped us keep our variable costs low. Our reject rates were among the lowest in the industry. We invested heavily in best practices training. We also kept our production capacity towards the top of the industry. This helped us achieve economies of scale, which helped us keep our prices low. We only utilized the private label market when we had excess capacity. This didn't happen very often as we tried to keep all of our capacity going towards the wholesale market and the internet market. We also only maintained 2 production facilities throughout the entire game. The second primary activity for Caliber Shoes was marketing and sales. Our overall strategy is best value. This meant that we had to have a higher quality product at a price that was comparable to others 3 to 5 SQ points lower than our own. Our marketing expenditures were among the highest in the industry. This helped us increase the demand for our product. We invested heavily in celebrity appeal as this was a main aspect of our marketing strategy. We felt that the celebrity appeal was a good way to increase the magnitude of your marketing. We also kept our rebate offers around the industry average. The next primary activity is outbound logistics. We simplified our distribution by only having to distribute from our 2 production locations. We had to utilize the free trade agreements, so there was no tariffs on products shipped between North America and Latin America, and there were no import tariffs on products shipped into North America. So part of our strategy was to take North American products and ship them down to Latin America. Then, to cover any unmet demand in North America, we imported products from Asia Pacific. This usually worked out pretty well, and the exchange rates usually went in our favor. But there were times when we had to modify our distribution patterns to take advantage of exchange rate changes. We also tried to keep a 2-week delivery time to all retailers in all 4 areas. The last primary activity in the value chain analysis is service. Caliber Shoes maintained their retailer support above the industry average. We made it a priority to try and increase our retailer support every year. Again, our 2-week delivery time to all retailers in all regions was a big part of our strategy. The next section of the value chain analysis is the secondary activities. Let's look at the firm's infrastructure. We had accounting, legal, administrative, and management teams that were leading our company towards a single goal of best value. We were also able to capitalize on the overall structure of the company. We were able to reduce our overhead by only having management and administrative positions in 2 locations instead of all 4 areas. The next secondary activity is human resource management. We were able to hire capable employees that were among the best in the industry. We provided our employees with best practices training. Our HR department was able to create pay incentives which enhanced worker productivity and efficiency. We provided our workforce with a diversity program. We even instituted an ethics training and enforcement program for all employees every year of the game. Another secondary activity is technology. Technology allowed us to perform production upgrades, thereby improving our worker efficiency by 25% and reducing our reject rates by 50% in both plants. Technology also allowed us to use recycled packaging every year of the game. The last secondary activity in the value chain analysis is procurement. Every year, we performed analysis on the usage and pricing of standard and superior materials. We tried to minimize our use of superior materials so we could try and reduce the variable effect of their costs on our overall production costs. We also monitored our ending inventory levels. This allowed us to determine if we needed to use any of the previous year's inventory to help cover our current year's demand, or if we needed to clearance the inventory to help us reduce our warehousing costs. Now, let's look at our company's core competencies. First, we were really good at strategic thinking. We were able to perform analysis on the market and then adjust our company's operations to better fit the market demands. Also, we did really well with goal orientation. We were able to set our corporate strategy at the very beginning of the game and then stay with that strategy throughout the whole game. We were able to modify our company's operations to try and fit the needs of our corporate strategy. Moving on to the SWOT analysis, let's take a look at Team Caliber's strengths. We were able to maintain a mid to high SQ rating at a lower cost than most of our other competitors. We also offered free shipping on our internet orders and low pricing on our internet products. Our celebrity appeal ratings in North America and Latin America were very strong in comparison to our other competitors. We also maintained reject rates that were among the lowest in the industry. The next section of the SWOT analysis deals with our weaknesses. There are a few things that we can do to try and improve our business for the future. First off is the number of models and the availability of those models offered to our customers. We also need to look at the level of support that we offer our retailers. We need to try and improve this so that we have more retailers that are willing to carry our products. Next would be our celebrity appeal in the Europe, Africa, and Asia Pacific markets. We need to try and increase our celebrity appeal in these areas to try and increase our overall demand. Now let's look at some of the opportunities that Caliber has. Due to the nature of the BSG, we had minimal threats of entrance into the best value market. When we started the game, we only had 2 main competitors. But as the game progressed, one of those competitors kind of moved into another market. This allowed us to have a huge opportunity of only having 1 competitor in our market. If we look beyond the bounds of the game, Caliber can look into expanding into other styles of shoes, such as casual, dress, or boots. Another thing we can look at is maybe expanding the brand into other markets, such as athletic clothing. Finally, let's look at the last piece of the SWOT analysis, Caliber Shoes threats. The exchange rate varied every year. This made it somewhat tricky whenever trying to determine your distributions into each area. There was also a chance that a competitor could change their business strategy and move into the best value market. There were chances that customers' preferences could change and align more with those of our competitors. If you look outside the confines of the BSG, there was a chance that customers could choose a substitute product instead of athletic shoes. Throughout the game, we were able to see how superior material vendors had a very high amount of bargaining power. This made it very difficult to rely on the previous history of material prices when planning out your forecasts.
Hi, my name is Aileen Zhang, co-manager of Caliber Shoes. I'm from China and I will be graduate this semester. I'm going to cover our company's overall performance and compare it with the industry average, investor expectation, and our competitors. Then I will cover the private label strategy. Our net revenues increased steadily in the game period, except the year 13. It decreased about $40 million. Overall, we performed great on net revenues, and in year 18 we reached to $483 million. For earnings per share, we increased it steadily since year 14, and we ended up with $5.81 in year 18, which was far more than the industry average and the investor expectation. However, we didn't do very well in year 13, which is only $0.59. It didn't meet the expectations of investors, but it was still higher than the industry average. Overall, we still have a good trend of growing up. As for return on equity, we did very well in year 14 and year 15. Since we didn't make too much dividend payments and stock repurchase in other years, we didn't quite meet our investor expectation. Especially in year 13, we only have 3% return on equity, which indicates that we didn't make good use of our equity to make profits. But we believe that our return on equity will get better after year 18 because of some stock repurchase. We did pretty good in image rating since we always put some effort on training employees and the workforce diversity program. Also, a great branded SQ rating in North American and Asian Pacific helps a lot. We meet our investor expectation and were much higher than the industry average level except year 11 and year 13, which were just slightly lower. Our stock price was increased significantly in year 14, which was $71.13 per share and far more than the investor expectation on our competitors. It maintains steadily growth in the following years, which delivered great results to the market. And in year 18, we surpassed our two main competitors. In the next few years, we may insistently pay a rising dividend to our stockholders to keep our stock price growing. Our credit rating didn't meet the investor expectation in the first 3 years because we have made several loans which have large debts and annual interest payments. But it was very good from year 14 to the end, reached to A+ in the last 3 years. We have very low default risk so that our interest rate were low enough for us to be financed with debt easier. Current ratio is a liquidity ratio. It equals current assets divided by current liabilities. It is a measure of the organization's ability to pay its short-term and long-term obligations. In order to make sure the company is able to pay its debt, we should keep our current ratio above 1. We have very healthy conditions for the length of the game period, especially in year 17 and 18. which are far better than our competitors and the industry average. The default risk ratio is defined as free cash flow divided by the combined annual principal payments on all outstanding loans. Our company's default risk ratio was below 1 in year 11 and 13 and was assigned high risk status. We didn't get high pricing power and didn't generate sufficient net income and cash flow to mitigate the default risk in these 2 years. But in the following years, we performed very well than our competitors. Marketing expenses as a percentage of revenues is an operating ratio. This ratio is calculated by dividing total marketing costs by net sales revenues. Net sales revenue represents the dollars received from both branded and private label footwear sales after exchange rate adjustments. Our company have a low percentage of marketing expenses to net revenues and high unit sales volume relative to our competitors and industry average in most of the years, which indicate that we have good efficiency of marketing expenditures. Our private label strategy accounts for a minor part of our business strategy. We bet on selling the private label pairs to make reasonable profit when we have excess capacity out of the wholesale market and internet market. Because private label can greatly enhance the image rating and it is helpful to reduce the cost of the branded production, we set the bet price based on covering all production and shipping costs, also adjust with the tariffs and exchange rate effects to reach a higher margin over the direct cost, and make the percentage of superior materials as low as possible to keep low costs.
Hello, my name is Cody McKee, and I'm from West Plains, Missouri. I'll be graduating from the MBA program this semester and also earning a graduate certificate in CIS. I felt the business strategy game was a great exercise that reinforced the concepts I've learned over the last few years, and it was a good experience. In addition, it was a pleasure working for Team Caliber. We had good leadership and collaboration, and that allowed us to be successful. In this presentation, I will explain our business strategy, give evidence that Caliber uses a global approach, and then give a breakdown of Caliber's branded production costs per pair by region and year. At Caliber, it is our mission to provide the customer with the best value in the footwear industry. We aim to achieve this by providing a higher level of style, quality, features, and more models than competitors at an unexpectedly low price. We accomplish this by slowly increasing our product's SQ rating, utilizing a mix of superior materials and enhanced styling and features. We kept costs below industry average by investing in plant upgrades A and D, as well as significant spending on TQM, Six Sigma quality programs. Now, there are two ways our strategy evolved over time, and one of those is that we continued to have to increase our SQ rating over time. We didn't think that that would be necessary in the beginning, but our competitors were raising theirs, and to be able to offer the best value, we had to do the same. Another way was we started bidding more aggressively on celebrity endorsements. We started out only bidding low and then slowly began increasing our bids. Caliber is a global corporation. It is headquartered in the United States, and all of our strategic decisions are made by corporate leadership in that region. The majority of manufacturing happens at the Asia Pacific facility due to the lower labor costs, while the North America facility mostly serves demand for that region. We utilize the same plant upgrades at both manufacturing centers to support our mission strategy in the best way possible, which is to provide the best value. Many aspects of the business are globally standardized, such as our SQ ratings, models made available, and delivery times. Those were the same across the board. Other elements are specialized to the region, such as wholesale pricing, amount spent on advertising, and the rebates offered. This pie graph shows a breakdown of Caliber's branded production costs per pair for North America in year 11. Each slice is labeled with the dollar amount and percentage of whole. The next few slides will be set up like this. This serves as baseline because it was before any upgrades had taken effect. No overtime was utilized for branded production in year 11. Superior materials were the biggest cost for year 11. Caliber also won a private label bid for North America in year 11. You can see here that the contracted production helped to absorb some of our overhead costs. Also of note is that the use of overtime for private label production contributes to cost per pair significantly. For year 14, both plant upgrades A and D were active for our North America manufacturing facility. These served to lower our reject rates and to increase production. The results are clear, as our labor costs were significantly reduced when compared to year 11, and both standard and superior material costs were decreased relative to the entire cost per pair. For year 18, the cumulative effects of investment in TQM Six Sigma and best practices training made an impact by lowering reject rates and materials costs and increasing worker productivity. Labor costs are lower than year 11 and 14 outright, and superior materials costs make up a smaller portion of the overall cost per pair relative to other years, despite raising Caliber's overall SQ rating to 8 stars. Now for the breakdown of branded production costs per pair for Caliber's Asia Pacific manufacturing facility. Starting with year 11, it is immediately clear that labor costs are significantly lower than those in North America. Materials costs make up exactly 50% of the total cost per pair. Plant Upgrade A became active in year 13 for the Asia Pacific facility. So here in year 14, we see the effects of that investment. Regular labor costs are 12 cents per pair lower than year 11. There is a noticeable increase in spending on enhanced styling and features associated with increasing the brand's SQ rating, a trend that continues into year 18. For year 18, Plant Upgrade D is providing Caliber with more efficient production, decreasing labor costs once again. As in North America, by year 18 we were gaining a noticeable benefit from years of investment in TQM, Six Sigma, and best practices training. Materials and labor costs have decreased again, with regular labor costs 34 cents per pair lower than year 14. The significant increase is in enhanced styling and features, as Caliber pushed its SQ rating to 8 stars. This slide compares Caliber's branded cost of production with the footwear industry's low, average, and high costs over time for the North America manufacturing facility. Caliber's costs are represented by the orange bar, while industry low, average, and high costs are represented by the red, gray, and purple bars, respectively. Caliber's costs of production were consistently below average and were the lowest in the industry in years 11 and 18. Caliber's branded cost of production was consistently below the industry average in the Asia Pacific region as well. While we did not have the lowest cost in the industry in this region, Caliber did offer products with a much higher SQ rating than our low-cost competitors while keeping costs relatively low, which exemplifies the Caliber mission of providing the customer with the best possible value.
Hello, my name is Scott Ice and I have been chosen as the team leader for Team Caliber. For this portion of the presentation, we will be discussing what we have learned in the business strategy game and what we would have done differently. As I begin, starting with what we learned, the team quickly realized that the business strategy game is very complex, and to be successful, the team realized that we had to be dedicated to it. Knowing that we had to put in the time, we met multiple times a week and upwards to 3 hours each time. And if I was to be asked by future students what would it take to make this game successful, I would say that some of the following elements are very key. Location, knowing your competition, and know the game. As a team, when we developed our strategy, we knew it would require us to build additional capacity. Choosing where to build that capacity early in the game did give us an advantage, but it did limit us as well. When we chose to build, we chose our additional capacity in Asia Pacific. In hindsight, we may have done something different, as you can see, because what our competition did, they dumped their capacity in Asia Pacific and built in Latin America. Because only the dumping of capacity was in Asia Pacific, we only had a choice was to buy additional capacity in Asia Pacific, but we could never buy anywhere else. Because of those reasons, we had to end up shipping all of our product from Asia Pacific to Latin America, and freight factors and tariffs ended up making us have extremely high operating costs as compared to North America and Asia Pacific. We decided to continue with our strategy to still ship to Latin America at a lower margin and sometimes a negative margin, but still make it up in Asia Pacific. If I was to be asked in hindsight, would I have built that capacity in Asia Pacific? Most likely not, but as a team we had no choice but to continue with that strategy, not dump that capacity at a loss to turn around and build somewhere else. In hindsight 2020, obviously it worked out for us. For me, a lot of the fun that came from the game was trying to understand what it was our competition was doing. This actually turns out to be a pretty funny story. Early on, we did realize that the strategy for the different teams, B and E were trying to do a product differentiation. D and F were doing a low quality and low cost, and teams A and our team, Team C, did the price value proposition. Our strategy throughout the game was always to win on price and have the best value proposition. We did this by monitoring each round our competition's weaknesses and our strengths to use against them to gain additional market share. We always wanted to stay one step behind our competition. We never wanted to spend more on retail support or advertising or even going after the higher celebrities. By staying one step behind and never leading the pack, we had a plan of just trying to make steady improvements each round. How we ultimately won, you could see that the game was actually a very tight race, really only coming down to the three teams, teams A, F, and C, in a separation of only by 5 points. The key to the win was consistency. If you look at the teams, Team A had 3 first place finishes, 3 second round finish, 1 third place finish, and only 1 bonus points, whereas Team F had 4 first place finish, 0 second place, 3 third place, and 3 bonus points. And for us, Team C, we stayed consistent with only 1 first place finish, 3 second round, 2 third rounds, and 4 bonus points. If you were to eliminate our bonus points, the 4 points, it actually would have been a tie between teams A and C. But because of our consistency, taking advantage of the leapfrog bonus points, in the end, we were able to win the game by 4 points. The last element from what we learned comes down to the player's guide and knowing the system. We were asked early on to read the player's guide, reread the player's guide, and reread it again. As many of you know, the player's guide is actually quite very boring, but there is a lot of details in there, and understanding the details from the guide will help you win the game. There are so many levers that need to be turned in this game, and knowing which levers turn, understanding which interactions will get you there, is ultimately how you win this game. You have to be willing to put in the time into this game to ultimately succeed. And that's exactly what our team did. Being asked what I would change in this game is actually kind of a tough question. When you win the game, would you say you would have changed anything? As noted before, we did kind of falter on location. If we would have chose a different location, could we have won by a higher margin? Maybe. Could we have actually ended up worse? Possibly yet. So I have 0 regrets with what we did there, but it was very much of an eye-opener. The strategy for us was always to stay consistent. We did try to dabble in the private brand strategy for a while, but it never really ended up for us. It came too much of a price war game that nobody was going to win. It was too much of a cutthroat for us, and ultimately we couldn't figure it out. We chose to take that capacity and play elsewhere. I don't have any regrets playing this game. It was a nail biter, and I did lose a lot of sleep over it. Spending so much time in this game, it actually kind of consumed you after a while. It was fun, but at times it was very stressful.